So what is church? What is church really about? Or what should it be about? If I ask that question, we're trying to find the right word, right? Because anytime the pastor asks a question during church, they have a secret answer that they're wanting people to say. But that's kind of a hard question, isn't it? Because there's lots of things that go on in a church, lots of important parts of ministry in a church. I mean, worship's fairly important. But then, if we say that worship's important, does that mean that Bible study and Christian education is important? Well, if we say, okay, fine, worship is important and Christian education is important, but then what about the music, And then what about making the world a better place and all the mission and service? Should we get rid of that core part that we get meals donated? And should we get rid of IHS if that's not just worship or Christian education? Well, okay, so we'll include that. Well, what about when there's special needs that come up in a congregation? People that need extra attention. Kids and youth programming doesn't just kind of naturally happen in our usual way of doing worship and Christian education. It takes extra volunteers who try to create special ways of teaching people at that special age to learn about Christ and their Lord and to develop their faith. And then at other stages in life, we need extra attention too, and we need different attention from a church that not everybody else needs. So is that not important too? I mean, that's what they were talking about in Acts 6, was that, hey, the church was going on fine. Hey, they were getting members. Church was growing. They were getting money. They were getting food. People were donating clothes, and women were donating all these houses and places to worship and food. Women sustained Christ's ministry. Even though you hear a bunch of he, it was the women who were the pocketbooks behind all his ministry, and a lot of the main volunteers, and were some of the people that didn't abandon him, but came back to his tomb. So, lots of things that we could say that church is about. And yet, when we ask ourselves, well, how do I be a Christian? If I'm really interested in this, and I'm not interested in this, in fact, I don't even see the importance of that, then what do we do as a church? I bet in here we have about 40 different ideas of what the most important thing is about church, or what we get the most out of in church. But if we're going to be a diverse church with people with different gifts and different passions, what in the world is going to keep us from everybody going their different directions and stretching this church out of shape and bending us all out of shape, and us having a lot of arguments and disagreements of, well, these people like to do that, but I don't. Or those people like to do that, but I don't want to do that. How do we navigate all these different things as a congregation of people with diverse gifts, diverse passions? That's the difficulty. We see it happening in the earliest description of the church. Remember, Christ's original church only had 12 disciples. And of those, one of them didn't turn out the best. And so, that was a tiny little group of people. And then, just a few chapters later, when Luke finishes his description of Christ's ministry and gets into Acts for the description of the early church's ministry, we hear that there's some arguments in that church. And what's the response from the big hitters, the people that everybody looked to as important and wise? People like Peter and Jesus' half-brother James and people like that. John. Well, they would say, we heard their response. You mean y'all need help feeding people? Well, we can't feed people. We're too busy preaching and praying. Can you imagine if somebody said that there's somebody in need, and so you call Pastor Evan, and Pastor Evan says, I'm sorry. I'm too busy preaching. I'm too busy working on my sermon and praying right now. I can't go help that person. Whoever that was that called me would gently say, okay, thank you. Would gently put down the receiver, or actually nobody has a receiver anymore. They would gently hit end, and then they would dial someone on personnel or someone in the clerk reception saying, we need a new pastor. He worked out for about 8 months, but we need somebody else who actually cares and has the love of God in them, not somebody that just cares about the sermon or prayer. And yet that's exactly what these people said. They said prayer and preaching is too important for us to give that any smidgen less attention to help you with this thing that you say is important. And if we get into, and I was a philosophy major at UNC, and so in philosophy and theology, you start writing. You write a pen until it's out of ink, and you just start writing about why your idea of what is right is so much more right than what anybody else's idea is. And yours is the truth, but the others isn't. And here's why. And you just need to come up with reasons, and then you try to come up with reasons why they say you're wrong. And you anticipate that. You say, well, you might think I'm wrong because of this. Well, yes, I do think you're wrong because of that. Let me explain to you why you're wrong for thinking I was wrong. And you go like that, and that's all that philosophy is about. No offense. Philosophy is awesome. But if we look at any of our passions, any of what we think draws us to the church, and why we are here, and what we think Jesus is about, what we think Christianity is about, if we take that into this kind of a philosophical debate and a theological debate of what God's about, and God is about this and not this, where's that going to get us? I don't think it's going to get us in a good place. I don't think it's going to get us in a good place. And if that's what Peter and the various church leaders of the earliest example of the church that we have in Acts 6, if that's what their attitude was to sit down and pull out a chalkboard, get the holy chalkboard. Here's why preaching and prayer is so much more important than feeding Greek-speaking widows. And you carry the two, and if they did that, how well would that have worked? And then people would have left feeling bad, and then you know what they would have said? They would have gotten out their phone, and they would have said, we need a different pope or a different leader, because these people don't care about feeding Greek-speaking widows. And then they wouldn't be worried about persecutions from Rome. They'd be worried about, I used to be the leader of the church. They came up with a different solution. And so, in life, a lot of our thinking is going to be so tempted to divide things up between A and B. The answer is either A or the answer is B. We're either going to help the widows, and you stop praying and preaching as much, or we're not going to help the widows, and we are going to preach and pray just as much as we currently are. If we divide up every problem that we face into two options, yes or no, true or false, A or B, then we're going to have some very interesting and, I think, uncomfortable consequences. But let me tell you a secret. Are we a dualistic religion? No. We say that God, if we're going to put a number to God, what would we say? 1, or, and 3. If we're going to put God in math, we're not going to say 2. We're either going to say 1, unity, or 3. And so there's always this third way. And that's what they found out in Acts. They found out a third way. Well, there is a way where y'all don't have to stop preaching as much or praying as much. You can still do that as much as you want. And we can feed the Greek-speaking widows. We'll just empower some more people and trust some more people to help do this job. And we'll be able to do all that. And later on, they had other things, that problems that came up in the church. They said, well, I was out there and I saw the Holy Spirit in a bunch of Greeks. Well, this was supposed to be a Jewish ministry about telling them that the Messiah they'd long waited was finally here. I know, but I saw the Holy Spirit in some Greeks. What are we going to do about that? Well, if it's going to take away from my preaching and praying, I'm not. Yeah, but they came together and they found a way, a solution that seemed to work through prayer and the Holy Spirit, and they were guided into a third way, to creative thinking, not just yes or no. So, God works with us. If we're going to be a church of diversity, we still need to figure out what is our common ground. What can we all talk about that we all share in common, that we're all united in? What are some of those things that touches on the one and the three? And so in the newsletter for this month, I put forward things that I believe I've heard you say, I've seen you in action, and things that I've read in your mission study from 2018 that y'all highlighted as some of the absolute most important things. And this is really a conversation starter. What does this church have in common? And the things are relationships and nurture. Someone said in the big roundtable discussion that we are transformed not through sermons, but through relationships. Relationships transform this congregation. One-on-one relationships are somehow a catalyst for doing things that are not one-on-one. Things much larger than that. Making the world a better place. Whether it's helping eliminate institutional racism, whether it's helping the planet last another 100 years or hopefully a few thousand, or whether it's helping feed people that are hungry, or help people who are homeless, or help people who are calling saying, our bills are coming in and I had an accident and I'm not able to pay these bills and my family and I are going to be out on the street if we can't figure out this. And Salvation Army is down for Christmas now. And so for the next month or two, we have no extra help and DSS is out of money. And so all these are important. We can make the world a better place, and that is something that this congregation has always been passionate about in different ways. We have different ways of making the world a better place. Also, kids. I found this interesting. In the 2018 survey, there was nothing that this congregation said was more important among the answers we were given than kids receiving Christian education. That was the highest. Every single person putting that survey in said that was at least somewhat important. Whereas other things were, important, but not everybody agreed they were that important. And so how can we go forward and continue to say that ministry to young people is important? And I think that can also be extended to people who have special needs that might be older and in different times of life and in different situations. It's giving that special attention to people that need it. And then another one that came up on the surveys that people were dissatisfied with, it said that among people who had joined the church but had only been in there 10 years or less, people felt that their spirituality or their spiritual needs were not being addressed as much as they would have liked. And so could another piece of our common ground be that we want to continue to help equip each other spiritually and be equipped spiritually for the social justice work we do, or the one-on-one relationships we have, or our relationships with our family and our neighbors and our community, that we need more than just ourselves and our hope and our optimism. We need spiritual disciplines that ground us and that help us when we're facing difficulties or obstacles in this important work that we're passionate about, that we have something to pull back and remind us that we're not doing this for us, and we're not doing this with our own strength, but we're doing it with somebody else's strength. And we can't do it with our own wisdom. We got to do it with somebody's much better wisdom and spirit than just our own. And so how are we nurturing our spirituality, whether it's in amazing Bible studies, and Sunday school groups and books that we read, sermons and different things? How can we incorporate that and raise that up even more? Now, we could find the real answer to our church's common ground through surveys. And surveys are great, and They asked the people in the very earliest church in Acts, they said, don't y'all think this is a good idea? And people said, yes, we think that's a good idea. They didn't just top down and say, well, this is the answer. They asked everybody, does this sound godly to you? And people agreed, and we hear that. But there's another answer to what keeps the church together. It's not just specific ministries that seem to cover the main categories. There's something important that brings us together as a church, and that is Jesus. Jesus brings us together. What brings us together in this space today? We could have a room anywhere in Chatham County, but we come to this room. This old room that Lee says it's a miracle hasn't burned down from a fire this past 100-some years. I think it's Christ and this table. And what is so special about this table? I mean, it's just a table made out of wood. I mean, it's pretty. But there's something about this table that brings us together and that reminds us that we are all united, even though we're all different, unique people, different, diverse people. Christ says, I am the bread, the true bread of life. Christ says, I am the true living water. I am the grapevine, where we get the wine and the grape juice from. And around the time of his death, his last ministry moment with his disciples before they would be scattered, he told them something interesting. He said, this bread is my body. And we think of Jesus as one person who we know brings us together. And yet, he says, this bread is my body. He breaks the bread, breaks it to pieces. And he says, take, eat. And that bread, which was one, and everybody can agree was one, gets shattered and crumbled into little pieces. And then, to make matters worse, people start eating it. And where is Christ now? Yeah, that's why some pagan people who didn't understand Christianity said, a bunch of cannibals. They talk about this guy being Christ and their leader, and then they go eat him. And so, and there was a little truth to that. But what happens to Christ? He's taken into our body. And all of a sudden, if we say, where is Christ? After we take communion, we can say, he's there. Christ is there. Christ is there. Christ is in you. Christ is in you. Christ is in you. Christ is in you. And so then when we have these questions and arguments and discussions about, well, where is the church going? Well, the church is going wherever you go, Charlie. The church is going wherever you go, Calvin. The church is going wherever you go, Martha. Christ is in us. And yet we are many in one in this broken body. I don't know about you, but I'm glad that there are people who care about the earth more than I do. I drive a Prius, but I speed sometimes. Not very much. But I don't do that thing where I push it out of my driveway in neutral and wait and then get on the hills and take the most downhill way both ways. I use gas, I use some petroleum, which is helping kill us every second of the day with its emissions. It's not a zero emission car. Sometimes I fly an airplane. That really is killing us. But, I am so glad that there are people that care about the earth more than me. I'm so glad that there are people in the congregation who care about ministering to others and their needs, and that it's not just on me. I care that there's people in this church that love reading amazing, juicy books that have so much to chew on, and that it's not just me having to carry that burden. It is so wonderful that Christ sees fit not to just have a church of me's, but a church of diversity, with each of us playing such an important and special part. And from what Acts says, not only amazing people already in the church, but amazing people not already in the church that can add to this ministry and expand its directions and strengthen its current directions. Praise be to God for our diversity and for Jesus who gives that diversity unity. In God's name, be the glory.